What's going on, dudes and dudettes? So looks like I have about 9 minutes. Obviously gonna try to get this video done straight through again like I did on my last video. Hopefully y'all like that better than the other different segments I do. So start with some Duke news. So Trey Jones was named as a finalist to the Bob Cousy Award, which is the best point guard in the nation. It's really awesome. Obviously I'm always happy whenever he gets recognition for coming back another year. And they're saying that Zion Williamson, the rookie for the New Orleans Pelicans out of Duke, looks just as dominant as he has been in college as he is right now in the NBA in the preseason. Obviously, I just want to tell people it's just preseason. Just wait. You never know when injuries are going to come up. Obviously, I hope that doesn't happen for him, but you just never know. And hopefully, he can stay healthy and be able to be in that dunk contest we mentioned in that last video. But then they're also saying a third-year pro in Luke Kennard, the shooting guard from Duke for the Detroit Pistons, is looking to have a breakout season this year. He was becoming a lot more of a regular rotation player last year, coming off the bench and almost being like their sixth man, scoring a lot. He works very well with Blake Griffin. I just kind of wish he was in a different situation to where he could get more playing time, but maybe that's this year he can get more playing time and can show what he can really do. Then also a freshman that's there at Duke right now, Matthew Hurt. He is also a finalist for a postseason award, the Julius Erving Award, which is for the top power forward or small forward. I'm not sure, but I think Hurt is most likely going to be a power forward playing at Duke, in my opinion. So it could be for either one of those forward spots. So they see a lot in him. I don't know, he's not as athletic and looks like that, so it's kind of like a 2.0 version of Larry Bird, I think I've mentioned before, but we'll see what he can do in college. Then some miscellaneous news. So of course the guy I mentioned in a few videos back that I wanted the Chargers to make a trade for because he was unhappy with the Minnesota Vikings in Stephon Diggs. Of course he has to go off 2 games later and get 3 touchdowns and over like 150 yards this last weekend, which of course sucks because now he's gonna end up staying there and they'll keep him at least for this season, which obviously sucks because Chargers could definitely use another wide receiver right now. Then some other random news that Corona High, my old high school, Corona High, played Centennial, their #1 rival, this last weekend, and it wasn't pretty at all. I think it was like 42-0 in the first quarter, which is amazing even for a Centennial. But I think the final score was like 69-7. Centennial obviously beating their rival in my old high school, which sucks, but nothing much Corona High could really do. They don't get as many talented players going there, even though they're one of the first schools out here to get a brand new football stadium, which I always thought was weird in the first place. But a little bit of Anaheim Ducks news. So they get 2 wins this week. They beat the Canadian Blue Jackets, and they also beat the Buffalo Sabres. They have a few more home games this week coming up, which should be good for them. So they don't have to travel as far, but hopefully they get a couple W's there. Then on to some Laker news. So Anthony Davis coming back from China, those games out there. He sprained his thumb, but the MRI came back negative, or somehow that's a positive in the medical field. I don't get that, but yes, everything looks fine, and he played in the game last night and looked pretty good. So luckily it wasn't anything too serious, but definitely don't want anything bad to happen to Anthony Davis this season coming up. But other injury news for Lakers, so Kyle Kuzma has been cleared for non-contact drills, which I'm kind of surprised already a couple weeks before the season that he was already cleared for that, which is pretty good. So he might even be ready for the start of the season coming up pretty soon, but I think they should just take their time with him right now because they're actually looking pretty good in this preseason right now. And speaking of the preseason, the last 2 games, they were 0-for in China. They lost 2 games to Brooklyn out there, but the last 2 games at Staples Center, they beat up on the Warriors, which is pretty good, especially last night's game. It was pretty nice beating, like by 20-30 points. So happy to see that. They still have more games against the Warriors this preseason. I don't know why they set that up that way, but see what you could do from the old champions, see what else they got. And then LeBron is saying that he's not going to make any more comments on the China situation, where they were basically held to not be able to have any meetings with any media or anything like that. during their time in China, and then they just came back, and there's this whole controversy of him saying about this GM, Daryl Morey of Houston, where he tweeted support for Hong Kong. And obviously, I'm pretty sure LeBron is for that, but it seems like he made a business decision because obviously about $4 billion comes in from China for Nike, which I'm pretty sure is a company he's well entrenched in as far as owning it. So I'm pretty sure that's why he didn't want to say anything, even though he was wanting to show support for them and their democracy. But I just don't know why he's getting so much hate. I'm pretty sure if you had a stake in $4 billion in your own company, that you wouldn't do the same thing as well, to try to be on the safe side, to not say anything as of right now. But I'm pretty sure eventually he'll come out with his own thoughts and say whatever he wants about it. But yeah, I don't know why he's getting so much hate. It's pretty dumb. But then the Lakers also signed Reggie Hearn, a guard who has been in the G League a bit, and they let go of David Stockton. So we'll see what this guy could do. Apparently it's just to see what these guys have or anything like that. But the Chargers news coming out was saying that there's no trust in Anthony Lynn as of right now because this team is falling apart, but injuries have a big thing to do with that. So it's not really his fault, in my opinion, at least for this season. But then there was a thing that came out from Vegas saying that he has the 5th best odds of getting fired after this season, which I don't think it's true, because so many freaking injuries to so many key spots. Left tackle, we were gone a running back for some point, wide receivers are down, safeties, defensive linemen, linebackers were gone, and they're still gone. So I really don't think the fault should really be blamed on him, just the curse of the Chargers and the freaking injuries, really. But there was a mock draft of next year's draft coming out, they did, and they finally actually got players from teams that I've actually kind of liked, and some of these guys I haven't heard of, but a lot of these guys, after looking at them, I was pretty happy that they chose them. But to help out the Chargers next season, if they were to be picking at this spot at number 11, as they are right now, they might even be number 9. They might have moved up even higher to pick in the draft. But it was saying they would get an offensive tackle on Alex Leatherwood from Alabama, which is always a good school to get some players from, which they haven't been doing this past couple years. And then a cornerback in Jeff Gladney from TCU, which TCU, I would only get guys from the defense because that's what they're more known for as of right now, so I really don't mind this pick at all. And then in the 3rd round, they would get a defensive tackle in Leki Fotu from Utah. From those pictures you see right there, he was the one that knocked out Keaton Slovis, the quarterback for USC. So I definitely saw him in that game, and he looked almost unstoppable at times. I don't know how USC won that game. That's how good he was. That's why I don't even think he'll be even available in the 3rd round. They might have to go for him in the 2nd, maybe even the 1st round, in my opinion. But USC has a bunch of stuff. You know what? Looks like this video might run out, so I'm gonna do this stuff real quick, make it smaller, and then finish with a bunch of USC crap.
That's a dribble. It's not what he wanted to do. He's in no man's Shoot a three. He is going to shoot a 3. JaVale, he's got it. Rainbow out of the Raptors for Jordan Poole. Nice play by Poole. Yeah, steps in. Here he goes to the dribble. All the way. Dwight Howard terminates the dribble. Leave it for Stockton. Underneath that to the Kupo. There's a flyby and a slam. Norvell puts Poole down. Norvell all the way, scores! Oh, the bench loves it. They explode.
That's not fair. Did he slip? I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He slipped. Stop, trip. Oh, no. He just lost balance and went to the floor. And to make matters worse, it's a 3-point opportunity.
Zach Norvell Jr.
Alrighty, sorry about that interruption, but yes, to finish off with a lot of USC news. So they're starting running back Vavai Malapai. Looks to be out for an unseeable amount of time. They don't know how really long it's going to be, but definitely missing this homecoming game against Arizona, which sucks, but gives more run for Stephen Carr and Marquise Stepp, who played very well in the Notre Dame game, which was basically a homecoming for him. He's from out there, but yeah, definitely see what they can do. Hopefully they can get a lot. They've been averaging about 200 yards playing against Arizona, rushing the ball, so it's be pretty fun to see how that game goes. Then Clay Helton, after the Notre Dame game, says even though it was a loss and they are 3-3 right now, they're still 2-1 in the Pac-12 and definitely have an opportunity to still win the Pac-12 South, get into the Pac-12 game and win it, and get an automatic berth into the Rose Bowl and still have a chance to compete in that game. So it's definitely high hopes, and they're dealing with a bunch of injuries I'm going to get into right now in this long stretch of the season against some pretty good teams. But yeah, it's all that USC and basically Clay Helton can hope for is some good luck on their side coming up these next couple weeks. But a guy, the wide receiver Michael Pittman, whose draft stock is rising from reports, which is really cool. I always thought he was very talented, especially in one of his final high school games. He scored 5 touchdowns, a couple that he returned on punts or kickoffs, and that he caught as a wide receiver as well. I knew he was very talented. That's why I was happy came to USC, but for some reason it took him more than a couple years to get going. But I'm glad he's getting the credit he deserves, especially going into the NFL right now. Then a couple guys I mentioned that they would be down. Palio Naotiote, their starting linebacker. So guys like Kanai, I know that's his first name, I don't know his last name, sorry, but Kanai and Raylan Goforth, the guy who I was really high on, who's a freshman right now at USC, will be playing it at his position. So hopefully we can see what they can do in this game against Arizona. But also Greg Johnson, their starting nickel, which is a guy who plays corner or safety or up on the line of scrimmage, a very valuable guy, will be out in this game as well, which sucks, but a lot more guys could step in for him. Chase Williams, guys like that could fill in that spot. So hopefully a lot of these guys who are banged up, like an Elijah Griffin or any of those other guys at the DB position, can still play, but we'll just have to wait and see. Wait for the official news to come out. And then Deontay Burnett, an ex-USC wide receiver who was with the Jets most recently, but he got signed to the practice squad with the 49ers, which is pretty cool. Slowly making his way to the Chargers, so I see what you're doing, Deontay. And then a couple of ex-USC players, wide receiver, and Daquan Hampton, the guard who was recently with the Chargers, Chris Brown, and an ex-guard, Damian Mama. They were all selected in the XFL draft that just happened recently, which is obviously a new league that's started by the WWE guy, I believe. So yeah, just glad at least a couple of guys are going to be on teams, but hopefully they can make it back into NFL at some point. Then a guy who was always an enigma to me, because coming out he was probably like a top 20 overall player in high school and chose USC, was a 5-star defensive end / outside linebacker, had some playing time, but then a lot of times, especially his first couple years, he never got on the field at all for USC, which is surprising. I mean, this guy by his sophomore year in college already looked like he should be playing in the NFL. Like, that's how crazily gifted, especially strength-wise, he was, but he just never clicked at USC for some reason, so he decided to transfer to Illinois. And as of right now, he's the nation's leading sack leader while being with another team, getting an opportunity, which is pretty crazy. Another one of those notches on the coffin, or nails in the coffin for Clay Helton, really, where he's not, I guess, given the right information about certain players or why certain guys are held back, and then they perform very well while they're not at USC anymore. So I'm very glad for his success. Hopefully he can turn that into a high draft pick coming up this year, but I just never understood why they didn't get him any playing time. It obviously seems that it's not him, it was the coaching staff, so I'm happy for you, buddy. Keep the success going. And then there was a weird play going around after the USC Notre Dame game where it was when Notre Dame was on offense and It was in between a skirmish, but they had even a slow-mo replay of it where a Notre Dame offensive lineman in the bottom of the pile, you could totally see him where he sticks his hand underneath a USC player and grabs his junk, his midsection, which was insane. Like the crazy amount of BS plays that they get away with and all these messed up stuff, cheating, little things of cheating that Notre Dame has always done. That's why I've always been against Jerry Tillery being on the Chargers. I think that's why there's so much bad luck right now with the Chargers, even more than what there has been. But he was a guy a couple years ago that did a messed up thing in a game against USC. Luckily USC won that game, and USC was very close to winning this game as well. But as you saw from the highlights, I don't know if the highlights will be playing right now. As I'm talking, I'm gonna see if that will be available, but they'll probably be after this video. So we'll see how that goes. But thanks for watching, people. Like and subscribe, comment down below, let me know what y'all think, and have a great rest of your day.